Disclaimer: this content is created for educational and motivational purposes only. The life journey presented here is a historical interpretation of Napoleon Bonaparte's struggles, discipline, ambition, and rise to success. Certain narrative elements are expressed in a storytelling style to convey inspiration, personal growth, and mindset development. This content does not glorify war, violence, or political power, nor does it promote any ideology. Viewers are encouraged to understand this story as a lesson in resilience, self-discipline, and personal transformation, and to apply these values positively and responsibly in their own lives. Let's start from the beginning of my life. I moved forward into the next phase of my life with a sharpened mind and a hardened will. By this time, I was no longer just a student shaped by hardship. I was an officer standing at the edge of opportunity. France was no longer stable. The revolution had erupted, tearing apart old systems and throwing the nation into chaos. To many, this chaos meant fear and uncertainty, but to me it meant possibility. I had spent years preparing in silence, and now the world was changing fast enough for preparation to matter more than birth or privilege. I watched carefully as the old order collapsed. Noble titles lost their power, and merit began to matter more than lineage. This was the moment I had been waiting for, even if I had not known its shape before. I aligned myself not with individuals, but with ideas that allowed ability to rise. I kept my emotions under control while others were driven by rage or revenge. I understood that revolutions consume those who act blindly but reward those who act precisely. My discipline, once mocked, now became my advantage. My first real test came when I was given responsibility beyond my rank. I did not hesitate. I studied terrain, assessed risks, and acted decisively. Where others saw confusion, I saw structure. Where others hesitated, I moved. Each small success built my reputation, not through loud claims, but through results. People began to notice that when I was involved, order emerged from disorder. I was no longer invisible. As battles followed one another, I learned lessons no classroom could teach. I learned how fear spreads among men and how confidence can stop it. I learned that soldiers follow certainty more than commands. I learned that speed can be more powerful than size, and that intelligence can defeat numbers. Every campaign refined my instincts. Every decision sharpened my understanding of leadership. I did not lead from comfort. I led from the front, sharing hardship, hunger, and risk. This built loyalty stronger than any speech. With each victory, my ambition grew clearer, not louder. I did not seek chaos, I sought control. I began to realize that power is not about destruction, but about direction. France needed stability, and I believed I could provide it. This belief was not born from ego alone, but from observation. I had seen what weakness in leadership caused. I had seen opportunity wasted by indecision. I knew I could act where others delayed. Gradually, my name carried weight. Opportunities came faster than I could have imagined in my early years of isolation. Yet I did not forget those years. They remained my anchor. Whenever success tempted me toward carelessness, I remembered hunger, mockery, and silence. Those memories kept me sharp. They reminded me that nothing is permanent unless defended by discipline. This phase of my life was no longer about survival. It was about ascent. The foundations built in hardship now supported action on a grand scale. I was no longer preparing for history. I was stepping into it, fully aware that every move I made would shape not only my fate, but the fate of a nation. And this was only the beginning of my rise. From there, my rise accelerated in ways even I had not fully imagined. Success brought visibility, and visibility brought both opportunity and danger. I learned quickly that as a man rises, he is watched more closely, judged more harshly, and opposed more fiercely. I did not allow praise to slow me or criticism to distract me. I treated both as noise. What mattered was momentum. I refined my strategies, strengthened my command, and surrounded myself with those who valued ability over loyalty to old systems. I understood that leadership is not about being liked, but about being followed when decisions are difficult. Each step upward required greater self-control, clearer judgment, and the courage to act alone when necessary. I felt the weight of responsibility grow heavier, but I welcomed it, because I had spent my entire life preparing to carry it. As my influence expanded, I became increasingly aware that power is never simply given, it is tested every single day. Each victory placed me higher, but each step upward narrowed the space beneath my feet. I could feel the ground becoming unstable, because France itself was unstable. The revolution had removed kings, but it had not yet created order. People were hungry not only for bread, but for direction. I understood this hunger deeply, because I had known it all my life. Hunger sharpens judgment. Comfort dulls it. I had no desire to be dulled. I began to realize that leadership is not about reacting to events, but about anticipating them. I spent long hours studying reports, maps, political movements, and human behavior. I paid close attention to who spoke too much and who listened. I noticed that those who shouted the loudest often feared the most. I learned that true authority does not announce itself, it becomes obvious through results. I stopped explaining myself. I let outcomes speak. This silence unsettled many, but it also commanded respect. Campaigns followed one another, and with each one my understanding of warfare evolved. I learned that speed could replace numbers, that morale could outweigh weapons, and that clarity of command could turn exhaustion into endurance. I pushed my men hard, but I never asked of them what I would not do myself. I marched with them, slept where they slept, and faced danger alongside them. This created a bond stronger than rank. They trusted me because they saw that I trusted myself under pressure. Yet victory brought new challenges. Political forces watched me closely. Some admired me, others feared me, and many hoped to use me. I understood that politics is a different battlefield, one where words are weapons and alliances shift without warning. I entered this arena cautiously. I did not rush. I listened. I learned. I observed how decisions were made, how power was distributed, and how weakness was disguised as virtue. I saw how indecision destroyed opportunity. I promised myself I would never hesitate when action was required. As my reputation grew, expectations grew with it. People began to project their hopes onto me. Some saw me as a savior, others as a threat. I accepted neither label. I focused only on function. What needs to be done? What will stabilize the situation? What will strengthen the state? These questions guided me more than praise or criticism ever could. I had no patience for sentimentality. History does not reward emotion, it rewards effectiveness. Over time, I came to understand that France did not merely need victories abroad, it needed structure at home. Chaos weakens even the strongest armies. Discipline must exist not only in ranks, but in laws, institutions, and leadership. I believe deeply that order and liberty were not enemies, but partners. Without order, liberty collapses into anarchy. Without liberty, order becomes tyranny. Balancing the two required firmness, intelligence, and courage. I stepped forward when others stepped back. I accepted responsibility when others debated. I acted when others waited for consensus. This decisiveness frightened some, but it reassured many more. People crave certainty in uncertain times. I became that certainty. Not because I demanded it, but because I embodied it. I spoke with clarity, I decided with speed, I corrected mistakes without apology. This consistency became my strength. As my authority solidified, I did not forget the boy I once was, the outsider, the poor student, the silent observer. Those memories grounded me. They reminded me that arrogance is the fastest path to collapse. I trusted my abilities, but I questioned my assumptions. I surrounded myself with competence, not flattery. I listened to criticism when it was useful and ignored it when it was rooted in fear or envy. Eventually, the weight of leadership extended beyond military command. I found myself shaping laws, institutions, and the future direction of France. I approached this task with the same discipline I had applied to warfare. I believed that laws should be clear, fair, and applied equally. I believed that merit should outweigh birth. I believed that stability creates opportunity. These beliefs guided my reforms. I did not seek to please everyone. I sought to build something lasting. As I rose higher, the world seemed smaller. Decisions carried consequences far beyond my immediate view. I learned that power amplifies every choice. A single mistake could undo years of progress. This awareness sharpened my focus. I became more deliberate, more calculated, and more demanding of myself first and of others second. I slept little. I worked constantly. I lived with intensity because I knew time was my most valuable resource. At the height of my success, I commanded armies, shaped nations, and influenced the course of Europe. Yet even then I understood that success is never permanent. History is unforgiving. It does not care about past achievements. It judges only outcomes. I knew that every empire carries the seeds of its own decline. The challenge is not rising, but sustaining balance. Ambition drives ascent, but restraint preserves power. My later years tested this truth relentlessly. As victories accumulated, so did resistance. Enemies adapted. Allies weakened. The same confidence that fueled success now demanded greater caution. I faced decisions that had no perfect answers. Every option carried risk. I learned that leadership at the highest level often means choosing between losses, not victories. These moments revealed the true cost of ambition. Defeat, when it came, did not erase my journey. It refined it. Loss stripped away illusion and exposed reality. I learned that even the strongest will can be overwhelmed by circumstance, coalition, and exhaustion. Yet I also learned that failure does not define a man, how he bears it does. I accepted responsibility. I reflected deeply. I did not rewrite history to comfort myself. I studied my mistakes with the same rigor I once applied to my successes. In exile, removed from power, I had time, something I rarely possessed before. Time to think, to remember, and to understand the full arc of my life. I saw clearly that everything I became was built upon those early years of hardship and discipline. Without poverty, I would not have valued efficiency. Without isolation, I would not have developed clarity. Without rejection, I would not have forged resilience. My rise was not an accident. It was the result of preparation meeting opportunity. I do not present my life as flawless or without cost. Ambition demands sacrifice. Power demands solitude. Leadership demands decisions that haunt long after they are made. But I believe this: a man should not shrink from his potential out of fear. He should prepare himself fully, act decisively, and accept the consequences with dignity. From a quiet, misunderstood boy to a figure who reshaped history, my life was a testament to the power of discipline, vision, and relentless effort. I was not born to rule. I built myself to lead. And that, above all else, is the truth of my journey from struggle to strength to legacy.